Tātou katoa, nau mai, haere mai ki tēnei hui. Welcome to the Hawke's Bay Regional Council meeting of the 30th of November. We have already opened with our karakia, so this is just a welcome to all our visitors, our staff, everyone watching online, and of course our councillors. Any apologies for today's meeting? We have Councillor Martin Williams, who will be joining us later via Teams. And any notices? There are none. Conflict of interest declarations for today's public items. As there are none, thank you very much. Confirmation of the minutes of the last Regional Council. Are there any corrections to those minutes? If there are none, can I please have a mover and a seconder to receive those minutes? Councillor Foley, Councillor Harding, all those who agree say aye. Aye. Those against, carried. Thank you very much. Call for minor items not on the agenda. Aye, there are none. We move into decision items. So the adoption of Code of Conduct for elected members. James, would you like to present the item?
Thank you, Chair. Council is required under the Local Government Act to adopt a Code of Conduct. The Code of Conduct that has been prepared for your consideration has been informed by Local Government New Zealand's template, which seeks to achieve national consistency. It has been updated to incorporate changes during the last triennium and emphasises just a couple of matters that have probably not had as much clarity or emphasis as they should have done historically. So it's a new improved version, and it's now therefore available to you to adopt.
Fantastic. Any questions that we have of James? Councillor Harding.
Thank you, Chair. Without being exhaustive about it, my quick roam through the current, the 2019 version versus this new model, the two things that stood out to me as major differences was the explicit recognition of te tiriti and an acknowledgement of principles. And the other thing was unlawful discrimination, so being explicit about both of those two things, which are duties anyway. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to know whether there are any other big ticket items that I might have missed.
Yeah, good question.
Tell me that.
Thank you, James.
Look, I understand those are the major items. There is reference in paragraph 7 of your paper of what has been added in. I guess the other things are in relation to the good governance principles that are referenced there in 7.3.
Yep. Any other questions or comments? No, there are none. Well, we have recommendations here of 1, 2, 3, and either 4 or 5. But given there's been no comment on adding those, I'm happy to move 1, 2, 3, and 4. And if I can please have a seconder, Councillor Sears. Thank you. And so would you like to speak to that, Councillor? No? Any other comments? There are none. All those who agree say aye. Aye. Those against, carried. We move on to item 6, the 2023 schedule of meetings for adoption. Thank you, James.
Thank you, Chair. There is a fairly hefty program of council meetings proposed for next year, particularly incorporating the new joint committees which have been proposed for climate action, as well as
The future
Yeah,
development?
yes,
Yeah.
thank you, Chair. The future development strategy between Napier, Hastings councils and ourselves, as well as the retention of the existing joint committees in the coastal space and what is required by law with respect to transport. We have continued to propose the All Governors Forum across councils, Māori Committee, Regional Planning Committee and Council to workshop matters that will come together in the Kotahi plan change and ultimately come through to the Regional Planning Committee and to Council for decision making through the year. We've also got the normal council committees operating on effectively a quarterly cycle between the corporate and strategic environment, integrated catchments and regional planning committees with audit and risk added in as well. So the program is as proposed, recognising that there may need to be amendments through the year, particularly in relation to those All Governors Fora that may need to be modified just depending on the progress made on the Kotahi plan and the preferences of council and governors in relation to diving deeper on matters or taking more time or less time as the plan comes together. So that's broadly the driver for what sits in front of you. And as I say, it's pretty hefty. There is a proposed break reasonably briefly at the start of July. I would observe that council previously had a slightly less intensive program, particularly in relation to school holiday periods than we now have. But the addition of new joint committees and the new workshops is necessitating a more heavy schedule.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to commend the consideration of one of the weeks of the school holidays being blocked out during the year, the middle of the year. I think it's a good time for us to be able to spend time with our family and our whānau, and to then come back quite refreshed during the year. So thank you for that. Are there any other questions or comments?
Just
Yes.
general information question. Why is it that Thursdays are completely clear and Fridays are not?
Oh, good question.
To me, that actually doesn't make a lot of sense. If you want to travel and be away, long weekends are generally better. And so to lock in Fridays, we have joint committee for the coast and transport. We've got them both on Fridays. Just like to see, I can see if there's good reasoning for it, I can see that it's already scheduled there.
So the reason for Fridays for the joint committees is that other councils in the region have Thursday as a council day. So Friday is the day that between the councils it's broadly agreed that no council has a normal council or committee meeting. So we keep those reserved for the joint committees across the councils. And so that's really why they sit there on Friday. And then Wednesday is the long-standing day that this council has chosen to do its heavy lifting in terms of council meetings and council committee meetings.
Yeah, makes sense.
Thank you. Any other questions? There are none. Could I please have a mover and a seconder to that agrees to 1, 2 and 3? Now please have a mover, Councillor Lambert, and a seconder, Councillor McIntosh. Would you like to speak to that?
No.
Nope. Okay, support. All those who agree say aye. Aye. Those against, carried. Order, thank you very much. So we have affixing the common seal. James.
Nothing controversial out of the ordinary to report here, Chair. We just have some staff warrants to add in. And on this occasion, we don't have any freeholding of Napier leasehold land that requires the affixing of the seal. I'll move, Madam Chair.
Yep. And a seconder, Councillor Van Beek.
I was going to make a change. I've done it for 3 years. This is second to Rick. You're going to say I'm going to second to Neil now from now on. Sorry.
I must
Okay.
have known, I must have. Thank you. All those who agree say aye.
Aye.
Those against, carried. Thank you very much. We move on to item 8, which is a summary report from the last Clifton to Tangoil Coastal Hazards Strategy Joint Committee meeting. So we'll start with Yerif, if you'd like some time, as you were the chair last term.
Not now.
And in this meeting though, and then I'll hand it over to Chris.
Okay, good. I'm possibly going to cut across Chris because we've been trying to talk to each other for the last couple of days and it hasn't worked. Really the issue we have here is actually moving from a draft strategy to a permanent strategy. We've got some really tight timelines, and not just only the consultation with community, but also with tangata whenua is actually it's very tight. But I know we've got a plan, and we work towards the plan. We've also already started to have 2 drop-in sessions. One was going to be last Tuesday, but unfortunately due to COVID that was hampered. And so that was cancelled and postponed to a further date. Because one of our staff, I understand, had COVID. And those are actually going to be very important to really feel the pulse of what the community really would like us to see and do, where we can explain as well. So the next one is going to be on at West Shore on Tuesday. I might actually pass on that meeting, actually, hearing what I heard this morning. But no, I'll be there. So that should be interesting. So that's me.
No passing there, Yerif.
No.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, look, I think I've covered the key points. This was back from the September meeting now, so it's a little bit old because we have had that stand down period. But very much 6 weekly meetings of the Joint Committee through in the new year through to September to work through all of that material for consultation and then in the next LTP. So really happy to answer any questions, but just highlight we're coming into the home straight in terms of the strategy and the regional council taking a key role.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions for Chris? Councillor Sears.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. So just picking up on the Home Moana meeting that was yesterday, was meant to be, that was cancelled. So that's going to get picked back up again, given its significance?
That's correct, yes. So it is significant. We're probably looking at February because I think trying to fit it in mid-December is unlikely. We'll find a good day that's generally available. So we're looking like we'll hold it early next year, but the West Shore one will continue next week.
And a follow-up question. So the significant community engagement process, so this will be these sessions actually at the coastal communities, but will there be wider community information throughout the whole district?
Well, so this is just so these 2 were very much designed to talk about our planned retreat study that Tonkin and Taylor undertook, because when that was made public through the Joint Committee, there was a level of concern about what that meant for the strategy that we had developed with the panels. So it's really to reinforce we do have a strategy. What is the strategy? What is the role of the Tonkin and Taylor report? And then moving into August of next year, we have significant, very wide public consultation going into the LTP, in which we'll have further very wide consultation.
Excellent, thank you.
Fantastic. Any other questions for Chris? If there are none, Councillor Fanbake, would you like to move the paper, the report?
Yeah, actually, I thought it wasn't already moved.
And then Councillor Kernan, would you like to second?
Wouldn't have a bar of it.
Take that as a yes.
Okay, all bets are off.
Okay, all those who agree say aye.
Aye.
Those against, carried. Thank you very much. And as there are no minor items to discuss, on the agenda we are moving into the public excluded part of the meeting. Before I do that, are there any questions that want to be raised about moving into public excluded? Councillor Hawke.
Thank you, Chair. Just seeking a little bit of clarity and a bit of reassurance around the necessity of moving to public excluded. In terms of the second item, I understand that as in making decisions around a panel for appointments to HBRIC, you necessarily, excuse me, need to talk about individuals who may qualify for that role, and so that's completely appropriate that that be done public excluded. Slightly less confident when it comes to the discussions around the port, and my starting proposition there is that as our interest in a public listed entity, then the assumption should be that we won't actually receive any privileged information, any information that hasn't already been delivered to the stock exchange and therefore is in the public domain. But on the other hand, I can see the value of a free and frank discussion with the board. So my thought around this was just to seek reassurance from the team, from the port, that this council would not be put in a position, they wouldn't place us in a position of receiving privileged information ahead of time, because that wouldn't be safe for any party, and just whether it's worth asking them to turn their minds to the reasons that we've given for going into public excluded, and whether they're confident that one or both of the reasons, which I'm just searching for at the moment and can't find, apply.
Yeah, thank you. That is a very great question. James, could you help bring some reassurance as to why we're going into public excluded?
Thank you, Chair. So I have had a discussion with the Chair of the Board a short time ago and determined in the first instance that there is no information that the Port intend imparting during their session with Council that has not been made publicly available previously or won't be made publicly available. So the reasons for passing a resolution as indicated in your paper are not actually relevant to what the Port, we understand, is coming to discuss. So I just have to apologise that the paper doesn't adequately reflect that. There is a case for public excluded, which is the same reasoning for the next item, and that is in relation to withholding information necessary to protect the privacy of natural persons. So the Chair of the Port indicated he is interested in a conversation about board composition matters, and with the upcoming AGM did expect that there might be some discussion around individual board members, in which he's very happy to have an open conversation, but obviously to protect the privacy of those individuals, there is a case for taking that into public excluded. So my recommendation to you is, if you resolve to go into public excluded, that you do so under section 7.2a rather than the other two sections set out in your paper for this item.
Okay. Any other questions on that?
Just through the Chair, I'd just like to thank Chief Executive for that reply, and obviously as the CE's had that conversation with the Chair of the Port, then, sorry, it was the Chair?
Correct.
Yeah. Then I think we can take assurances from that, and assurances that we actually know going into public excluded now for the right reasons.
Thank you, and thank you for bringing that to our attention. So, Councillor Harding, would you like to move that we head into public excluded?
I so move.
And a seconder, please, that we do that. Councillor Van Beek, all those who agree say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Those against, carried. Thank you very much.